What's going on, y'all? So listen. What's going on, y'all? Wow. Okay, so we're about to talk about sinners. All right. Ryan Coogler's, Michael B. Jordan. What's that girl name? Baby, let me get the cast, cause my goodness, the cast. Haley Steinfeld, Miles Kenton. Now let me tell you something. They said that's his first role. This is his first acting role. Girl, Jack O'Connell, Wami Mosaku. Baby, that's old girl that was on as soon as I seen her, I said, bitch, not my girl from Lovecraft Country. You came right back home into this field. But anyway, let's just get into it. Delroy Lindo, let me tell you something. If you have not seen Sinners and you don't want any type of spoilers of that any kind, because I'm not finna give everything, but I'm finna just touch on some things. Because I do realize that some people probably haven't seen the chat. I don't know if y'all finna go see it tomorrow, because tomorrow is Easter. No, y'all, some of y'all so religious or whatever, but happy Easter for real, for real. I went to go see it on Thursday night, and I went to see it Saturday afternoon. So I did a double feature, back to back, I guess if you want to call it, because it really was that good. You know how people hype up stuff and then you go watch it or you go listen to it or you go use it and you're like, no. This was one of those situations where that was not the case. When they hyped it up, the hype was real and it was well deserved. Very much deserved, okay? And I'm not exaggerating and I'm not jumping on a bandwagon or anything. This is my pure thoughts about the whole movie. As a whole, this is one of the best movies that I've seen in a long time. And for me, that's saying a lot because I actually took my ass to the theater twice, back to back, to go watch this movie. And I definitely want to go see it again. And when it comes out on digital, I'm buying a digital copy and I'm damn sure getting a DVD copy, okay? It has to go into the collection. It has to go into the collection. This is one of the highest grossing horror movies, I guess. What they say, let me go to my tweets because everybody has been talking about it and I have yet to see one negative review. It has got a cinema score of A. It has already gotten over $19 million in the first couple of nights. That's Thursday night and that's Friday night. And they said Sinners is the only horror film in 35 years to receive a cinema score. Yeah. All right. It has made so far $19.2 million over, which is putting it on pace to outdo more than the predicted what they said is gonna happen. They said it's supposed to get like probably 40 million this whole 3-day weekend. Baby, 9 out of 10, it's gonna be way more than that. Girl, listen, because that's just from Friday. That's just from Thursday night and Friday. Okay. Sinners was so good. It's a horror movie. So they say. I mean, I get the horror aspect of it, but for me, it was more so of storytelling because I love the way that it started out. It started out talking about how different cultures have different people who are storytellers. You know what I'm saying? And so it's giving you already history. It's giving you facts, you know? And then it delves into our history. We're after World War One. You know, we're in, when was the Great Depression? Girl. Because this is after Prohibition. Yeah, the Great Depression. Girl, that is not how you spell it. The Great Depression was 1929, 1939. Damn, that shit was 10 years. What the fuck? Baby, the people was out there suffering. The people was out there suffering. So you got all of this going on in the midst of the Great Depression. So, which is coming off the heels of Prohibition. For those that don't know, Prohibition, that's when they started to ban alcohol. That's when a lot of people, you had a lot of people in the mobs, and the black gangs and all that stuff coming together to get their hustle on. They was making a bootlegging the liquor and all that stuff, getting real rich off of that shit, right? But then you have to find other avenues after Prohibition ended. Next thing you know, the bank and the stock market crashed, and then you got the Great Depression. The country was going to fucking shits, okay? The peoples was poor. The peoples was hungry. The peoples was struggling. And then there was a war also. At one point, prior to that, you're coming off the heels of that, then you go into the Prohibition, then you go into the Great Depression. Girl, it was a lot. Then we going into another war, okay? World War II. But see, this took place in Mississippi, Clarksdale, 1932. All in one fucking day. All in one day. And I had to realize, I said, bitch, this happened in one fucking day. This was a lot. You know how stressful I be like, God damn, you mean to tell me? Yes, girl, that happened all in one day. Okay, so you got these twin brothers that comes back to Clarksdale, Mississippi, where they're from, and basically want to set up a juke joint. It was given very much Color Purple. If you think the juke joint, that's how it was given on the remake of the Color Purple. Okay, because I mean, they was getting down, bitch. They was getting down. I said, oh shit. And that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to come through, had this juke joint, had everybody come in, giving people money and all this stuff to come work for them. You had Delroy Lindo. He was playing Delta Slim. Baby, when I tell you, he was the funniest shit to me throughout the whole movie. Okay? The funniest. Also, let me tell you this. Michael B. Jordan, I ain't never looked at you like that a day in my life. I said, he decent, you know what I'm saying? But bitch, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the accent. I don't know if it was the suit. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it had something to do with the teeth, the grills that was in both their mouths. Okay. Michael B. Jordan 1 and Michael B. Jordan 2. Smoking stack. I said, now hold on. And they was looking a little bit Steve Harvey-ish. I said, you look like a young, fine Steve Harvey. I said, now what the fuck is going on? Oh, I'm gay. What is this? I said, all right, Mr. Michael B. Jordans. Okay, y'all did that. So they coming back and they basically want to get a town something, and the reason why they come back, because bitch, they done stole from the freaking mob. They done stole from the Irish. They done stole from, some Irish beer, some Chicago beer. Baby, they stole from 2 different factions, okay? And they left town from Chicago because they was up there in Chicago working, I think, with Al Capone and them. And I remember when one line that really got me when they had their cousin, Sammy, a.k.a. Preacher Boy. And he plays the guitar. They gave him the guitar, whatever. One of them, I think it was Stack, lied about where the guitar came from. And Smoke later on had to tell her, no, baby, that guitar came from my daddy. Mind you, they didn't fuck with the daddy because the daddy was abusive. You seen that conversation that they had in the car when they first got in there, when he picked them up and was like, how is your father doing? Okay, is he putting his hands on y'all or whatever? And he was like, no. And I thought that stood out to me for some reason. That really stood out to me for some reason, because it just felt like y'all in that time period where you see, like I said, they're in the midst of the Great Depression. Plus, you're already down south where segregation is all, just Jim Crow, all of that shit, right? And again, you still got people, slavery is over with, but you still got families out there being sharecroppers. He was a sharecropper, even though Preacher Boy's father was a preacher. The family was sharecropping, you know what I'm saying, to also make ends meet. And everybody else practically was out there picking cotton still. And it's like, in my mind, when it comes to, the abuse aspect, it goes back to when The Color Purple came out and how people didn't like the fact that, Alice Walker made Mr. this character that was this black man that was abusive and all this stuff, whatever. And I was like, well, that happened. We can't gloss over the fact that abuse happened, whether it was to the spouse, to the kids, especially back then, because who they gonna take their anger out on? You are a grown man getting belittled by a white person because you can't fight back to them because of segregation. You can't fight them without punishment happening to you, or you possibly most likely losing your life. So you take that frustration that you couldn't take out on them on your family. And so that kind of stuck with me when he was asking them, well, when they was asking him, was his father being abusive to him or whatever, and he said no. But that's the reason why they left. They left their home because the daddy was beating their ass. You know what I'm saying? And they went to go stay with this girl's family. No. Bitch, but no. When they was in that car, it was like, you coming down here, you what's up there in Chicago? He said ain't nothing different about Chicago. Chicago ain't nothing but Mississippi with a whole bunch of tall buildings. And you know what? That's the Great Migration. I am Chicago. Y'all know, and for those that don't know, this is Chicago. Okay? I'm born and raised. And my people come from Mississippi. My grandmother comes from Mississippi. My mama was born in Mississippi. She only lived down there for like the first 6 months of her life. And my granddaddy come from Tennessee. But, well, my step-granddaddy and my grandparents, biological grandparents, they come from Mississippi. And during the Great Migration from the South, a lot of people from the Mississippi, a lot of black folks from the Mississippi, one of the main states or cities that they came up to was Chicago, Illinois. So they said, Chicago niggas ain't nothing but Mississippi niggas with fur coats. Okay? That's literally just what they say all the time. And that's what we are. Okay? They say we got a little country accent because we get it from the people down south. You know what I'm saying? There it is. So I love the fact that they put that up in there. Historically accurate, okay? But yeah, so you have all of this going on. And again, it's the religious aspect of it too, because you have the father, you have Preacher Boy's father, who is a preacher and basically wants him to follow in his footsteps. And it's one of those things where, you know, even to this day, you have some people that still grow up in the church and they're like, you can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out, listen to that secular music. Because his father didn't want him to go down there playing the blues. He didn't want him doing that. He wanted him to use his gifts for the gospel, use his gifts for the Lord, you know. And he was well versed. But you have to understand that what you want for me ain't necessarily what I want for myself. And that's what Preacher Boy was getting at, you know. So when Smoking Stack comes into town, and it just shook things up. And it was like, you know, showing the possibilities that he don't have to stay a sharecropper. He don't have to be a preacher like his father. He can go out and make his own path and do what he wants to do with his life, you know? And you got that confirmation from his cousins, okay? And so they go out there to town. But before that, they went and brought the building from this white man. And it goes into play how he was like, this shit just recently got clean. When they get into the building, they was on the floor. It was like, this just recently got clean or something like that. I was wondering how could they put that up in there, but then that kind of came into play later on. That white man, all right, and I knew he wasn't going to let that shit fly. Because the way that they was talking to them, they was talking like segregation and these one white people. Like, wasn't no punishment finna come to them. Okay, they literally told them, here the money is, don't let none of your clan people or none of y'all motherfuckers cross over here, or y'all gonna get fucking dealt with. And oh boy laughed it off or whatever. And I was like, oh, so that white man just gonna take that? Not in no 1932. Okay, and that stuck with me too. Like, what? You can talk to him like that? Okay, I was like, y'all making me feel some type of way. Stand up, nigga, stand up. I was like, all right. So I'm sitting up in the theater. Mind you, I went to the AMC. And I was in the, for the first one, I was in that Laser, was it Laser? Or the Prime? One of them, bitch, I was sitting right next to the fucking speaker. So one part when it got real loud, baby, when it was going through that one scene that I love so much, it kind of got real loud. And I looked at I was like, oh my God. But then it kind of came together. And I was just like, whoa, I was mesmerized. But we'll get there. They get into the town. They getting all the people together. We see Delta Slim. Obviously, he used to be a musician that was somebody. But now he's a little drunk. Baby, the way that they convinced him to come on and play for them. That Irish liquor or that Chicago Irish liquor, yeah. That they stole all that shit. And then for that girl Mary to pop up, it was like, who the fuck is that? I don't think she's supposed to be here. That was Stack old thing. Okay? Now let me tell you something, Ryan Coogler. What the fuck be going on? Well, I see what be going on in your household. You's a freaky little thing, okay? It all of a sudden went to like I was looking at a Zane novel come to life. Because the way that she was like, well, bitch, the way that you fucking left me after you fucked my pussy so good. I said, wait a minute. Hold on. You know, you don't think about your people saying this back, those type of words back in 1932. In 1919, you thinking that, baby, we was the one that was saying all this shit. Y'all was talking nasty like that. Using those words. Which we know was happening, but to actually hear it being said like that. And I said, what's this white lady? But then you can kind of tell that she was a little mixed. But I was like, stay away from her. Stay away from her. Girl, basically, he was playing her. That's the love of his life. Okay? And he didn't want to get married to her or whatever because it's like, what would that look like? Him being with her, somebody that could pass for white. She didn't want to pass for white. She wanted to be black so goddamn bad because she told us I don't know if it was her granddaddy that was black or whatever. She like what, 15% black? And I knew she was something. What, you a little cadroon? Okay. I said, still stay away because I feel like she gonna cause trouble. Don't trust it. Don't trust it because halfway through the movie, I was like, basically what it is don't trust fucking white people. And don't trust the ones that can pass for white either. I'm sorry. That's just what the moral was to me. Am I the only one? No. Because look what happened. All right. So then you got Stack went into this town, and I love the fact that they put the Chinese aspect into it too, because the Chinese was around, Asian influence was around, and they had the friends that what were their names? Grace and Bo. They were his friends, Stacking Smoke's friends that basically did the signs and all that stuff, helped him out with the juke joint, opening it up and everything. And then we get down to where Smoke went, and he went to visit his ex. And her name was Annie, right? Oh my gosh, she played I already said she was on Lovecraft Country and she was on something else too. But she is a phenomenal actress. She is phenomenal. And I love her in just about everything that I've ever seen her in. She just does it beautiful too. Just beautiful. And I said, oh shit. I was like, is that your relation? No, they had a baby together. Because when we see them, they had a baby together. The baby obviously did not survive. And she was like a type of, I don't want to call it, because I don't want to get it wrong. Roots, she put the roots on people, kind of like voodoo, she was connected to the ancestors. That's how I put it. You know what I'm saying? And we see a lot of people that today that are very much in touch with their roots and who practice spirituality, who practice root work and all of that stuff. And, the way that is shown, and I love the way that they had that plan off of, in the beginning, we have Christianity. And then we have the root work that was being done, that actually came from our ancestors before Christianity came into play. You know what I'm saying? And that all comes together later on in the movie because it's a dueling thing. And then we kind of see like she kind of put she had a talisman on him to protect him. And when he had asked her, well, if that can protect me, how come your roots and stuff or whatever didn't protect our baby? Baby, that shit broke me. That broke me. Okay. And, you know, he had it as if he really was there to get her to come cook for them at the little juke joint, but he missed his boo. And when they was about to get it in, and when she touched his body, she was like, your body didn't forget me. Bitch, I said, oh, wow. I said, you know what? They were saying some lines up in here. I said, Ryan, your wife is happy. I just know she is. You better be, because you were saying a lot of stuff. You know, I will say this. Miles, that voice, whoa. When he first opened his mouth to speak, I said, wait a minute. Is that really his voice? And then when I was seeing the, you know, press interviews and stuff like that, and then I actually saw an actual performance of him performing the song that he did in the movie, that's his voice. I said, that is a deep voice. It's a deep, unique voice. And whoa. And he's very talented. I said, oh, so y'all really was out here showing y'all ass in this movie for real, for real. Y'all said talent on talent on talent. And I said, yes, 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 bitch. All right. So you got that going on. And when he also meet Miss Perline. Now, let me ask y'all this. Perline said that she was married, but she was flirting hard with Mr. Preacher Boy, Sammy, right? She wound up coming to the juke joint. And the juke joint, you know, we had that juke joint popping at night like the clubs. You know what I'm saying? She came there by herself. Where was your husband at, Miss Perline? Your husband let you come out at night like that, by yourself, dressed like that? Did you really have a husband, or are you widowed? Which one is it? Okay, was you just playing around with him? You know, you got that. Okay. That one scene where Stack was trying to teach Preacher Boy how to give head. Again, it reminded me of Color Purple, the remake. Well, yeah, that version that recently came out. And you know, when I think it was Taraji's character for Suge, and they was singing "Touch the Button" or whatever, because he was saying, you know, giving instructions. I said, some of y'all need to take notes. Some of y'all need to take notes. And Mr. Sammy, he was listening, because he wound up giving his opportunity with Miss Perline. And Miss Perline, I said, for a first timer, baby, he had that lady up in there going. And I would have been listening outside door too. Like, get it. They was a horny bunch, baby. And y'all about to die. It's a horny bunch up in here. It was like, yeah, you got to get it in where you fit in, because you just never know. You just never know. You don't know how much longer you're going to be here. Hey, if the opportunity presents itself and it's consent, let's go ahead and do this. And I said, oh, okay, cool. So you have that. And everybody finally gets down to the juke joint. You got, what's his name? Cornbread. He comes through. His wife is pregnant. He was out there again. He's a sharecropper. But, of course, the money allowed him to come out there. Delta Slim and his drunk ass, he was out there playing the piano. You know, what's his name? Cornbread. He was like the bouncer at the door, collecting the money, making sure everybody come through, whatever. And then you had Smoking Stack just making sure everything was happening. Mary brought her ass up in there. I said, come on now. That man don't want you. Listen, we got to have a little bit more dignity about ourselves. That man fucked you so good that you couldn't get him out your membrane. He was so embedded in your body, in your cellular structure, that you followed him all the way back to fucking Mississippi. Damn. And you still at his place? Still trying to convince him to say that he love you. And he said, I love you, girl. I said, I know that's what it is. She was like, he said, you went on here, you got married to that white man. He was like, I don't want that white man. She basically was like, y'all want me to be white so bad. I want to be a nigga. Okay, stop it. I'm 15% nigga. Leave me alone. I said, all right. She was giving me very much Hazley tease. But I was like, something about her I just don't trust. Something about her I just don't trust. And I just kept my eye on her. Every time she came on the screen, I was just like, what you about to do? But the one scene that I feel like everybody was just so mesmerized by and was my absolute favorite scene, because at first it caught me off guard, because I was like, what is happening? And I don't know, it was like, and I'm not even exaggerating, y'all, I was sitting there and I was just trying to figure it out. But as he was singing, Preacher Boy got up there to sing finally, and he was singing a song that he did for his father, basically telling him, I'm finna find my own way. I'm not finna do what you want me to do. You want me to be this preacher, I'm finna find my own thing. That's basically what the gist of it was. And it's the blues. And as he's singing it and playing that guitar, they say he blew the roof off that place. He blew the roof up off that place. And to have the different eras of music coming through, I was like, what the fuck is that nigga doing here with the electric guitar? I said, is that Boosie? Did we just go to Parliament Funk? Then we went to the turntables. Then we went to, we had the, gangster rap. Then we had the, up to date, they over there twerking in the corner and all that stuff. Then we also had the Chinese, elements. And we had, our ancestral all the way back from when we was in the motherland, and that one particular with the face and the hair, the white face mask, with the brown hair. I don't know where that came from, which particular area, country in Africa that it came from, which tribe. Please put it down in the comments. But I remember seeing that, because I have a lot of that pops up on my For You page on either on Instagram. And I remember seeing that particular one. And some of them other stuff I remember seeing too. So now I'm sitting here like, I was extra geeked because I knew, like, it's like, I'm connected. And I was like, oh my God. Just, it was like, just thinking about it, I could fucking cry, bitch. Because it was just, the way it was just showing how culturally music and storytelling through dance, through music, and all of that stuff, just telling our history, it has gone through and through. The spiritual aspects of it, the cultural aspect of it, the historical aspect of it, that shit was deep as fuck. And I was just like, whoa. And then when everything just burned down around them, oh my goodness, that was just so literal, so figurative, so metaphoric. All of the words. And it's one of those things that you can actually come up with your own interpretation to what you felt about it and what you thought it meant. But baby, that shit was deep to me, okay? But I feel like that's probably just about everybody's, for the most part, favorite scene. And that's one of the scenes that actually stood out so much. Now, mind you, they said it's supposed to be a horror movie, right? When the movie first comes on, you see Sammy going back up to his daddy at the, getting out the car. The guitar broke his shit. He got bloodied and he limping into the into the church, and his daddy like, drop the guitar, son, and come to the Lord, renounce and, lay down your burdens and lay down your sins and all this stuff. Let the guitar go. And then it goes back to earlier the day before. And now we're seeing how everything comes together. And at the same time, when the beginning of the movie started, when they was listing how people do the storytelling from different cultures, from Africans, from, Asians, and then they did mention the Native Americans, right, and the different tribes that were in that particular area. And this is when we get introduced also, because we were seeing flashes of him in the very beginning when Sammy went back to that church, because we're like, what the fuck happened to him? He's all bloody, and it's not his blood at this point, but his face is scratched up. What happened to him? And so then you get to see this guy come rolling up on this couple's house, right? And his name was Remick. Okay, Remick. I hope I'm saying his name right. Remick. Remick? Remmick? Remick? Whatever. And he comes over there and he's burning. And he was like, help me, all this stuff. They the Indian, the Native Americans, well, they probably called them Indians, because they was ignorant, took my wife and all this, and they coming after me, and I know I'm a coward because I let my wife get killed, and woo woo woo, and this is what they did to me, because he was just burning. He was burning. And then when you look up into their house, I know y'all saw when they panned into the house, you saw the Klanswear. Yeah. And he saw that. And it was almost as if it was like, as I think about it, he ain't here for that bullshit like, oh, so you got the nerve to be a racist too. Oh, yeah, I'm definitely finna get this bitch, okay? And they went ahead and let them in. And then all of a sudden we see these Native Americans come pull up. And of course they kind of Americanized for that time, meaning they're not in their traditional wear. All of them. Some of them had on, a couple of them had on jeans and, things of that such, and the cowboy hats and all that. And basically was trying to say, ma'am, because the lady came to the door, you need to let that person that just came up into your door, let that motherfucker out, because he not good. He not who he say he is. And she got that shotgun. She said, you get the fuck up off my land. And he was like, all right, but you better be careful when the light go down, the sun go down. And that was it. I wanted more from the Native Americans. I wanted them to be a bigger part too, because again, this was their land before anybody else came. You know what I'm saying? And I wish they would have had a bigger part. But that was a warning. She goes back into the house and she finds her husband on the floor and he's bloodied, and we see Remick is on there, and he's basically a vampire. And he turned all of them. He turned them. And so the way that he comes into play, to the horror of it comes into play, we find out these are vampires, and they're basically trying to turn everybody and make it heaven on earth, okay? And, coming up to the juke joint, and he said literally that he pointed out Sammy, and his voice was what sung to him, what called to him. When he was reciting certain things, he was doing it the same as him. And it's like a connection. And what that was, it was like they were literally mimicking him and mimicking what the people in there was doing. They're fellowshipping. This is another form of fellowshipping, This is another form of church, okay? They're having a good time. They're coming together as one through music, through dance, and just being free. And then you have these three white people coming up there, and they trying to get in and want to play music too. But then it's like, no, let me tell you something. If I would have seen they asses too, absolutely fuck not. Get the fuck on. Because especially Miss Gurley was giving y'all away. Okay, Miss Gurley was giving y'all away that y'all was not to be trusted. Y'all was a little bit too goddamn eager. Okay, first of all, niggas do not like eagerness like that. Okay, especially coming from the whites. And then when he said, oh, you mean we can't come in because we... I said, no, you not finna reverse it and use what they use on us. On us. No, you can't. No colors allowed, bitch. That's what it was. He did the reverse. He said, oh, no whites allowed. That's basically what it was. I said, well, yeah. No, you got some little places over there on the side. Go to your peoples, okay? Because we ain't trying to get no trouble or nothing like that. We having a good time. We ain't trying to have all that, you know. And I was like, y'all was impressed with that little song that they did at the door. He gotta go. Y'all should have jazzed that shit up. Now, when Mary went out there, she said, listen, I'll go out there, see what's going on. I know y'all need the fucking money because by the time we get through with this, the shit that y'all done stole from Chicago, before them people found out that you just stole from them, you gonna need some more money. So let me go out there and talk to them. I said, oh, white people to white people? Yes. White people to white people. So she went over there trying to talk to him. Baby, let me tell you something. They was singing. Now that little song, that little jig that they was singing when she was walking up. Okay, I was like, you know what? Maybe. And then I was like, so even though she was a white woman and could talk to these white people or pass for a white woman, I per se, if I cared about her, I would not have let her go by herself. Because I would have been scared that they would have did something to her regardless if they was vampires or regular humans. And, you know, they started talking about where they come from and all that stuff. And basically what we get in the goal that they had, like they had like the goal was so many years ago. You know what I'm saying? And it just goes to show that he's been on this earth for a while. And he was like pre-Christian era, okay? Because next thing you know, she was trying to go back to them, and of course they got her ass. But then she come back up into place, and she a little bit too flighty. She a little bit too loose. She ain't so uptight like she was. She ain't in her feelings or nothing. She going over there to stack. She wound up fucking stack and eating that bitch up. Now wait a minute. When she was drooling, he was like, "You drooling, mama?" And she said, "Yeah." And then she spit that shit in his mouth. I said, Now, Ryan, I was with you. I was with you for every freaky fucking moment that was up in this bitch. Up until that part. Because Ashley don't do them spit shits. Okay? Do not spit in my mouth. I know we already kissing and licking tongues and shit, but don't just put a wad of spit up in my mouth. And don't spit in my shit either. Okay? Don't do that. I'm sorry. I'm just not one of those girls. I'm not one of those girls. I'm not going to spit in your mouth. I'll choke you before I do that. Okay? Like, no. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And they just kept on going. And she tore his ass up. I said, shit. And that scene when Stack came up in there, or I should say Smoke came up in there and was trying to get him, and said, that hurt my heart so bad. I said, Michael, you better fucking act, bitch. Michael was acting his ass off. Baby, I want to know, did he get paid double for playing two people? What the salary look like? For real. Now, after all that, baby, they was shooting at that bitch. Pop, pop, pop. And she got back up. I said, yeah, get that hoe up out of here. And at one point, they was trying to figure out what the hell happened. Girl, I knew Stack was about to get turned. I knew if she got turned, he was going to get turned. And that's exactly what fucking happened. You know, they had Perlene. That's what, again, now Perlene, what was your husband? Because Perlene got up there on that stage and she was purring. She was on that goddamn stage. And she was like, and I said, yeah. It was doing a lot up there. I said, you was really feeling it for Mr. Preacher Boy. You know, you crawling. I see ass and everything all up on the stage and everything. I said, where's your husband? Your husband does not exist. Okay. I see that now. But, man, everybody scared. Cornbread went to go piss. Them motherfuckers got his ass in the goddamn, in the thing. And he come back and he was like, invite me in because Stack dead. Come on, let me come in and let me help. And they caught on real quick and was like, bitch, you a vampire. Because that's why you telling me to invite your ass in when you been in and out this bitch this whole damn time. Okay? And he figured that shit out. And he threw some garlic water on one of them hoes. And them bitches is vampires. Okay? Close the fucking door. Now let me tell you this. Bo went out there to go, you know, they had told everybody to fucking leave, right? I said, no, tell them bitches to come back in here. You setting them out for the slaughter. Okay, you set them out for the slaughter. Now, let me tell you something. Bo went to go get their daughter, Grace's daughter, check on her and all that stuff. I knew Bo was gone. Okay, Bo was, sorry, Bo. And Miss Grace, she pissed me off so bad. She pissed me off so bad. Like, girl, I was loving you all the way up until you did that one thing. That one fucking thing, okay? Baby, they was ready to go in for the fight. When they had to go through and to each test to see who had and possibly could have been bit or could have been turned into a vampire, and they had to eat the garlic, and when Delta Slim when he did that shit, and he was like, it was like, you know what, ate the drink, all that goddamn Chicago whiskey, that beer. You know, I said, oh my God, I thought he was about to throw up. After he said all that shit, I thought he was about to throw up. That motherfucker was hilarious throughout the whole movie. Sacrificed himself too, but he was hilarious as shit. When they come to the conclusion that, bitch, well, we're going to have to fight these motherfuckers. Well, actually, they didn't really come to that conclusion. That conclusion was forced upon them because somebody said, come on in, motherfuckers. I said, Grace, oh my God, what is your problem? Your baby daddy is gone. Your baby daddy is gone. Come on. Just because they said they're going to go after your baby don't mean nothing. Girl, I was real mad when she did that shit. I said, throw her ass out there. And as soon as they came in, she was the first to get burnt the fuck up and die. You did all of that for what? And your baby girl still by herself. Okay? Like, girl, she really made me mad. Like, I get it. Emotions run high. You know, your husband just came to the door. You see fucking cornbread, you know, taking niggas out. And it was like, you don't see that? It was like, oh, he just hungry. I said, now, Bo, you want us to believe what's going on, but at least act like you scared of something, like you human a little bit. He said, oh, he's just hungry. I said, well, shit, close the goddamn door. She said, no, let the motherfuckers come in. I said, no, throw this bitch out there. I wanted to open the door and push her ass out there. Take her then. Okay, but they was ready for the fight. But that other scene where Remick had his chance to do the song and we get the history, it was basically connecting us because he was telling us basically what was going on. He's connecting with Sammy in his voice because in the cultural aspect, because in the same sense, you have black folks that have been oppressed, been slaves, been beaten down, all that, having our own cultural and ancestral identity taken away from us and being forced to practice, you know, Christianity and other religions, and then having our own ancestral, you know, traditions and roots and religions being looked at as demonic as they are still today. You have black folks that will literally look at things like hoodoo, voodoo, and other, even spirituality as demonic, and other forms of things that came from our ancestors as demonic. Oh, don't say nothing about Oshun. Don't say nothing about the other goddesses and gods or whatever from African gods and all that stuff, baby, because then you're demonic. No, baby, that's your fucking history. Okay? That comes from your peoples. But, oh, if it ain't Christianity, it ain't good, it's demonic as shit. But that shit was forced upon us. And y'all got so brainwashed bad. I am a Christian, but I get it. So, you know, I understand it. And that's exactly what happened with the Irish. He's Irish. When he started doing that little river dance, bitch, I said, oh, look at them feet. I said, yes, you better fucking do that. That shit was hitting too. I ain't even gonna lie. When they had that big old dance sequence and he was out there, I said, bitch, this is a fucking horror musical. What in a Rocky horror film is going on? That's what it was happening. I said, yeah, I like this. And you just have to listen to the words. It was coming together. And that's what they kept on saying. We're a family. We're a family because we all been oppressed by the fucking white man. Let's make our own heaven on earth, okay? You know, let's all come together and take these motherfuckers out. I said, I mean, I can get you, you know, they really did come and fuck your shit up, okay? We get it, you know, but I don't want to die and become a vampire to do, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But when Grace had did all that shit and had them come up in there, girl, Annie had told Smoke, let me tell you something, baby. If I get taken out a bit by one of them motherfuckers, put a stake to my heart before I turn. Don't let me turn into one of them motherfuckers. I said, no, don't do that. They said, yes, we gonna do that. And it was like, because I got, somebody that's waiting to see me on the other side and somebody waiting to see you too. That same person waiting to see you. I said, the baby. I said, oh my God. This shit was so fucking deep, bitch. On the surface, if you just look at it on the surface, you're like, okay, it's cool or whatever, it's whatever. But you just got to look at it deeper. It was a lot. It was a lot of things in there, a lot of nuggets that you probably would have missed the first time, and then you got the second time. Well, some of y'all probably looked at it once. I looked at it a couple times. I'm definitely going back to see it again. And this is why you can't let them, they can't erase our history. As much as they fucking try, they cannot erase our history. It fucking happened. And we have to get out there. If they don't want to teach it to us, baby, we got to teach it to us, okay? Because look at what the fuck was going on in this movie, bitch. All right? And basically, when Smoke had to take Stack out, that, oh, Lord have mercy, that took me out. You thought your brother was dead already, which he was. Then he pops up and he trying to take you out. He said, I ain't going nowhere without my brother. Come on, bro. And then he said, hell no, bitch. And we thought he took him out. And then, we saw Mary leave. Oh, when Sammy knocked that motherfucker in the head with his goddamn guitar, baby Miss Perlene got taken out too. I said, oh shit. When that happened, I felt so bad for Sammy. The first cut you got just died on your ass. That's crazy. And that guitar, the metal part of the guitar went into the old boy head, and all of them was feeling the pain in the exact same spot. That freaked me the fuck out. I said, I don't want to be that connected to nobody. I don't want to be connected to my maker like that. No. What in the interview with the vampire? What I was waiting for Lestat and Louis DuPont to come through. Okay, what in the world? Imagine we gotta wait till next year for season 3 of Interview with the Vampire. I am so pissed about that. I said, now where they asses at? I know y'all rolling around looking like, look at these motherfuckers. But yeah, all that shit just for y'all to die when the sun come out. What? I said, see, that's what the fuck you get, bitch. All right? And then we thinking that the movie is over. Baby, this is when we get back to the beginning where we see Sammy go back to the preacher, to his daddy, and he was like, let the guitar go, son. Of course he didn't let it go. I thought he was, and he was like, fuck all of this shit. I'm finna give my life to the Lord. But he said, no, I still got to do what I got to do. Okay? But then we saw that Smoke was still there. He ain't got nobody. And I'm pretty sure he was feeling so bad because him and his brother basically had all these people come to this place. And probably feeling like we caused it or died. And I'm the only one here still left. And I'm like, baby, it ain't your fault because you didn't know this was going to happen. And sure enough, remember when, I forgot what dude said about the white guys, but remember when he talked about it at the beginning where I said he told them, don't you come back over here. Don't bring your clans or nothing to cross over in this land or we going to take your ass out. Them motherfuckers came back with a whole bunch of people. And Smoke took their asses out. He wound up getting shot in the liver. And after he killed that man, he wound up dying too. But before that, he saw a vision of Annie with their baby. That was a beautiful image. That, her breastfeeding the baby in white, and he was just reaching out trying. And he did. And he went over. She did say, you got somebody waiting for you. They are family. The family unit, the black family unit. He couldn't stay away from her body, and he couldn't stay away from his baby. Oh, connected. And then if you stayed, we see that Sammy, he was driving in the car away from the church. Then it goes up to Chicago, Illinois. We back in fucking Chicago. Baby, I said not Chicago. Now you left Chicago to come back to to come back to Mississippi. And so, now you back in Chicago in 1992. And then we hear this blues stuff coming up. And as soon as I heard it, and as soon as I saw Chicago, and as soon as I heard the music start playing and I saw the smokiness of the club, I said, Buddy Guy. Buddy Guy. Buddy Guy. And sure fucking enough, Buddy Guy was playing an old Sammy. And he became famous and all this stuff. And he named the club Pearline. I said, Chicago's legendary. Y'all know Buddy Guy is Shauna Daddy, right? I want to lick you from your head to the door. That bitch, that rapping ass bitch, I love me some Shauna, baby. Okay, come on, Chi-Town. That's her daddy. That's her motherfucking daddy. I said, look at this. Buddy fucking Guy. I know that's right. Chicago, stand the fuck up, bitch. History. Okay? And then that was like, Sammy, you got some people that want to see you. Baby, why Mary and Stat came up in there? Bitch, I said, nigga, I thought you was dead. No, Smoke didn't kill him. He just told him, don't touch Sammy. Don't touch Sammy. And that's what he did. He said, I've been watching you all these years, you coming up and going to your shows and all that stuff. And one line about, what's the last memory that the best moment that he saw was his last sunset with his brother and all that. Oh. He even offered to turn him. And Sammy said, absolutely the fuck not. Listen, I had my field. I ain't got time to do all this. No, I don't need to live forever. Okay? I'm good. But that was so... And then that other end credit with young Sammy in the church just playing the guitar. Y'all, the movie was great. Put down in the comments if you have seen it and what you took from it. Some of the things that you peeped that I probably didn't say. Because, of course, I'm not going to tell you everything. I'm not going to catch everything. I'm not going to remember everything. I'm going off the top of the dome. Because, again, I'm going back to see it. Okay? I have to go back to see it at least once. It's really that good. And you know it's that good because I haven't had something that just made me want to do that in a long time. Long time. Oh, my God. It lived up to the hype. Storytelling, like beginning, middle, end, and everything came together, and we literally got a slight horror movie. I don't even want to I guess they call it a horror movie because of the vampires and all them. Okay, fine. But it was more so like a history and a spiritual lesson for me. It was just like, whoa. Ryan Coogler, you did that. Michael B. Jordan was beating Michael B. Jordan's ass in this movie, though. Beat the conk out his shit, okay? I said, whoa. That motherfucker head was laid down, fried to the side by the end of the goddamn movie, bitch. It looked like a fucking Negro afro. I said, yeah, you went through it. I want to know how it felt to beat your own ass. Anyway, let me get the hell up over here. Y'all, that was the movie. If you have not seen Sinners, I will say go see it. Some of y'all probably ain't going to want to go see it tomorrow, but go see that shit. Go see the movie. It is great. And it's no lie. If I had to give it something out of 10, I would probably give it a 9.7 out of a 10. It could have got a whole 10, but the only reason why I say 9.7 is because I wanted more of the Native American aspect of it. We had the Asian a little bit because they were part of the family. They was part of their friend group. But I wanted some more of the Native Americans because they knew what the fuck was going on too. They already knew what Remnant was, okay? Baby, anyway, let me get up off of here. You guys, Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy your holiday. Be safe, and I will see you guys later. Peace.